with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. As you can hear, my voice is fucked from those 2 darts I had yesterday, or COVID. I don't know which one. But I don't think it's COVID because I ate about 9 little bananas today and I could taste every fucking bite and they were fucking delicious. The bananas here are fucking me up, along with the yellow watermelon. I thought red watermelon was as good as you could possibly get. Why would you even need something better than red watermelon? It's the pinnacle. Until you've tasted yellow watermelon, and now you can't even stomach that red shit. That's how good yellow watermelon is. It is the sweetest, juiciest, most delicious fruit I've ever tasted, I think. I don't think I've tasted anything better than yellow watermelon. It's like double the price of red watermelon here, but it's fucking worth it. I have been nailing it. It's my new favorite thing. It's my go-to when I have to be vegetarian here. Like today, happy Ugadi. It's Ugadi today. It's the Indian New Year. And I can't eat meat on these fucking festival days. And there's a festival or some celebration or some holiday or some god's birthday every other week. It's insane. We didn't really do anything today. We took some photos, ate some shit. I don't know what year it is in India either. It would have to be more than 2021. I mean, the Buddha was around 1,000 years before Jesus or something like that. Maybe not 1,000. I think it was more like 70 or something like that. I think Hinduism has been around 1,000 years before Jesus. Anyway, yesterday I asked if I had told a particular story on the podcast before, a story about me being so hungover that I took myself to hospital. And I got a lot of messages saying I haven't told it before. But I fucking swear to God I've told it before. I don't know how it would have slipped past. Maybe I didn't describe it as taking myself to hospital because I was hungover. But I took myself to hospital because I was so fucked up after a bender. Anyway, this is what happened. So I was living up in Sydney at the time with my mate Shawnee. And what would happen is I'd go out with Shawnee a couple of nights. And then I had a few other mates. I had my mate Morgan. And I had my mate Jake and Horn. And so I used to go out with Shawnee a couple of nights, and Morgan used to work on a cruise ship. So he would come back for the weekend. And I think during this period, my mate Jake was doing exam driving. He would drive the tests, the university exams from somewhere to somewhere. I don't know. He was getting paid like $80 an hour, and I always resented it. And then there was Horn. He was floating around somewhere. And then there was Dylan too, Morgan's brother, who I'd always have like a fucking side bender with. So there was all these different people to drink with. Sometimes we'd drink together. Sometimes it was just one-on-one with me and one of these other cunts. So this particular 2-week bender, I'd been drinking with Shawnee. I'd been drinking with all the boys. Morgs, my mate, was off the cruise ship. So I spent 2 or 3 days drinking hard with him. And then he had to go back onto the cruise ship. And then I continued drinking with whoever was coming. I don't even remember who I was drinking with. But I remember I hadn't stopped drinking. And then I get a phone call from Morgan again, who had just spent the week on the cruise ship and now is off for a couple of days again. And by this stage, I am a fucking wreck. I'd been going out all night for like 2 weeks. I mean, getting blackout fucked up for 2 weeks. Morgan calls me on, it must have been a Wednesday or something like that. It was about 11 a.m. on Wednesday morning. He's like, I'm off the Explorer, the Captain Cook cruise ship. Come meet me down at Bondi Waverley RSL. And I remember just going, I can't do it, man. I am so fucked. I'm toast. I've got nothing left in me. He's like, just come down for a few. I've got to go back on the cruise ship soon. And I'm like, I'm too fucked, man. I'm shaking. And he's like, I'll pay for the drinks. Just come down. You don't even have to drink that much. So he twists my arm into going down there. And I was so fucked at this point that the last couple of nights I'd been drinking, I hadn't even been getting drunk. So I knew when I was meeting up with him, I was not going to get drunk. I was just going to get like sober. I was in one of those fucking periods and I was shaky as fuck. I could barely string a sentence together. So I'm like, I need something to perk me up. So I'm like, I'm just going to drink vodka Red Bulls. And I never drink vodka Red Bulls. So at like 11 a.m. on the last night of a 2-week fucking bender, I start jumping on the Red Bull and vodkas. And I must have had about 10 or 11 Red Bull and vodkas, just Red Bull and vodkas. Plus I was drinking beer and whatever just to pass the time. But I needed the Red Bull and vodkas to perk me up. And I got pretty perked up, I will be honest with you. I thought I wasn't going to get drunk, but I did a pretty good job of it. So anyway, we leave this joint. It's nighttime. I go back to my apartment and I'm not drunk for very long. Once I leave the pub and I stop drinking, I'm sober again within an hour and feeling like death. And so I get back to my apartment and Shawnee's there. Shawnee's on the couch. He's fucking hammered. He's smoking darts on the couch. And we had a mattress on the floor. Someone stayed there like 9 months prior and we just never moved it. So there was a mattress on the floor. And so I lay down on that and my heart started racing. It started beating real fucking hard. And I started getting the sweats, like real bad sweats. And my mind, I could not turn my fucking mind off at all. It was just racing. And my heart was beating out of my chest. And that was making me paranoid. So my heart would beat harder and my mind would race harder and I would sweat harder and shit was spiraling out of control pretty fucking quickly. And this is just lying there on the mattress. It was like a fucking panic attack or something that lasted for 8 hours. So I'm laying there on the mattress on the floor. Shawnee's hammered. My heart, I swear to God, it was crunching up against my fucking ribs. It was beating so fucking hard. I'm like, Shawnee man, I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack, man. He's like, nah, you're not, man. You're fucking fine. I'm like, no, Shawnee, seriously. I'm real fucked, man. I've never felt like this before. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, man. My fucking heart is beating out of my fucking chest. I'm like, can you do me a massive favor, man? Can you just sleep out here on the couch with me? I'm going to try and go to sleep, man. I'm going to try and close my eyes and go to sleep. But if I stop breathing, just call the ambulance, man. Call the ambulance, okay? Just give me like half an hour, man. Can you just watch over me for half an hour while I try and sleep? He's like, yeah, man. Yeah, it's all sweet. So I close my eyes and I try and sleep and there's just no fucking chance I'm sleeping. My heart's going. My mind's going harder than my heart. I'm hallucinating when I close my eyes and I'm like, just keep your eyes closed. Shawnee's there. Relax. And I just couldn't. And so I open my eyes again. This is about half an hour later. I open my eyes again, sweating, heart's still going. I look over at Sean. Sean's passed out, fucking asleep. My guardian angel was just asleep on the job. Fucking Shawnee, don't trust that cunt. So anyway, this continues for fucking hours. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was like, I'll give it a few hours. If it hasn't settled by then, as soon as daylight hits, I'm going to hospital. I'm going to take myself to hospital. So at about 5:30 in the morning, the sun starts coming up. My heart's going just as hard, if not harder, than it was when it first started. And I'm like, fuck this. I need to take myself to the hospital. So I ordered a taxi. I hop in the taxi. I'm hyperventilating. My fucking heart is going. I can barely breathe in the fucking taxi. He drops me off at St. Vincent's Hospital in King's Cross. So I go into emergency. I go up to the front desk and I go, look, I fucking feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. I really feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. And she takes one look at me and the doctors come straight out and take me in. No waiting at all. They just take me straight in, put me on a gurney and start asking me questions. They're like, what drugs have you done tonight? I'm like, I haven't done any drugs at all. They're like, what drugs have you done? We need to know what drugs you've done. I'm like, I haven't done any drugs. I've been drinking for 2 weeks. They're like, you look like you've taken meth. You look like an ice patient. I'm like, I know. I had a lot of fucking vodka Red Bulls last night. It might be that. They're like, your pupils are fucked. Don't lie to us now. We need to know what drugs you've been taking. I'm like, I swear to God, I haven't taken any drugs. I'm like, give me a fucking blood test. There's no drugs in my system. They're like, how did this happen then? I'm like, I've been drinking for 2 weeks. I haven't really been eating. And yesterday I had about 12 vodka and Red Bulls. And so they took me into one of the emergency, like, curtained off fucking room things. And they're like, we're going to give you some Valiums to calm you down and hopefully get your heart rate down. And I'm like, I can't take Valium. I feel like if another foreign object enters my system, my heart's going to fucking pop. I don't want to take Valiums. Can you do something else? They're like, we're going to give you some IV. So they hooked me up to the IV. I'm shaking. I'm sweating. I'm like a shell of a human being. I'm just so fucked. There's just fucking nothing left of me. I'm just holding on. I'm like one of those alcos you see in a fucking documentary. So I go through one bag of IV and the sweat stop and I stop shaking so much. They hook up another bag and then I fall asleep. I get a little bit of sleep. They wake me up at the end of the second bag and they're like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm still feeling fucked, but I'm feeling better than I was. They're like, we're going to give you another bag and we'll see how you feel after that. So they hook up the third bag and I'm starting to feel much, much better. I'm starting to feel human again. And then about 3/4 of the way through that third bag of IV, I get the biggest, hardest, rock solid erection I've ever had in my entire life. I couldn't even fucking bend it down to hide it. And then they come around, they're like, how you feeling now? And I'm like, I'm fucking back, baby. The boil is back, baby. But I don't think I drank for like a week after that. Learnt my lesson. Anyway, that is it for tonight. If you're enjoying the podcast, share it around. And I'll see you the fuck later.